States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Romero, would you do the
Moment of silence for those community members that we've lost in the past week or so. And also guidance for the decisions that we make in the best interest of this community.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Thank you very much. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Howell. That was in unison. So.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilor Olivelli Jr.
Yes.
Councilor Casey. Councilor Romero. Councilor Howell. I have a motion by Councilor Howell, second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is public input. We have Mr. Marshall Poole for Animal Coalition. Mr. Poole.
This is our report for October. We took in 141 animals during the entire month. That was 84 dogs and 44. That included 44 puppies of the 85. So half of the animals we took in, the dogs we took in, puppies. 50 cats, including 20 kittens. We returned 23 animals to their own guardians. We adopted 26 animals locally. We tracked 31 feral cats, community cats, and that's been neutered. We transported 51 dogs to 7 different agencies and elsewhere. We had 1 bite hold for the month of October, which was down from, I believe, 6 in the previous month. And we transported 15 citizen-owned dogs. Last week we had our art auction. It was very successful. Many thanks to all artists who donated artwork and to all the donors and buyers who bought the artwork. At that meeting, we announced a capital campaign, our intention to launch a capital campaign for the next 5 years. We are 10 years old now, 5 years of which we have been running the shelter for the city and the county. But the next 5 years, our intention is to build both a spay neuter surgery, which could bring in an outside vet to come in and do spay neuters, and also to build a new shelter. This shelter is, it's serviceable and it's nearing the end of its life. It's very hard to clean and to disinfect. We've had no disease outbreaks, which we're thankful, but we need to move on to whatever's next. So that's our intention, is to build a new facility. We also just last week signed the contract with the city for the next 4 years of operating the shelter. We're looking forward to working with the city and community development in that effort. 90% of the animals, I keep harping on this, but 90% of the animals that walk in the door are not spayed or neutered. And we get those puppies constantly. So, I mean, half of the dogs we took in last month were puppies. So we need to stem that tide. And so to do that, to help with that, we started this $25 spay and neuter program. We have a donor in Santa Fe who pays half of our spay and neuter costs. And we transport the animals for $25. They get spay and neuter, they get microchip, they get rabies vaccine, they get any other vaccines they need, all for $25. And we waive that if necessary. Right now, we're focusing on dogs returned to owners, and we're focusing on puppy surrenders. So that kind of fills as many as we can handle. But we've applied for 2 other grants, one from the PetSmart Charities and another grant from another foundation that will let us expand that for next year. to have even more spay neuters at this $25 or no cost spay neuters. I've given you an article that comes from the American Veterinary Medical Association Journal. It outlines what nonprofit spay neuter effect there is on a community. And so we think this establishes the premise for focusing on spay neuter. We could focus on a lot of things, but I think what we need to do is focus on spay neuter, identifying the animals, getting them all spayed or neutered. That way we don't have to transport as many animals outside of our community, because we can adopt enough animals, we can adopt the number of animals that we get puppies for. So be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Just want to thank you for all that you do. And we are all looking forward to new facility. I know in the past the city has made commitments to assist you with that, and our commitments are still firm.
Okay, it's going to take time and it's going to take a lot of effort, but we're clear that that's our next step.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cool.
Thank you.
That concludes our public input, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is a discussion item. Number 1, the Bulletproof Vest Grant for Las Vegas Police Department. And we have Ms. Pam Sandoval.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
This is to accept funding from the Department of Justice in the amount of $2,015. This is for granting the police department through the DOJ for bulletproof vests for officers. It's a 50-50 split for the DOJ. It's going to be used to purchase the 4 vests for the new officers just out of the police academy.
Okay, questions, comments? Councilor Case.
So this, it's not the 2015 that will buy all 4 vests, it was 2015 plus the match that will be.
Yes.
That's all, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Mayor. These vests, the quality of these vests, do you feel that it's good
Yes.
quality?
They're standard through Galls, and they're usually last for 4 years for the officer. They expire just like anything else. So every 4 years we gotta put some more vests on the streets.
They're not used.
No, they're brand new. Brand new.
And usually, if there's an incident, let's say that one of the officers gets shot at, that vest no longer.
No.
It's
It's actually, it's taken immediately and tested and all the stuff that comes with that.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the rejection. I'm sorry, it's for the senior center, and Wanda must have gotten tied up, but I can explain it. We did, senior center went out to bid for the paving at the senior center, and we received 1 bid in the amount of $125,000. The funding available was approximately $93,500. So we're requesting that we reject the bids, and then we're going to request additional money from the Capital Outlay Senior Center fund out of Santa Fe, and go out to bid once again and see if we can approve the project. And that'll cost us approximately $125,000 to get everything done. We didn't want to cut any of the items out. We thought it best that we reject the bids and go back out once we have the total funding.
Okay, questions, comments? Councilor Lisa.
I just wanted to know, there weren't any local bidders at all?
No, ma'am. There was not any. We have some CES vendors, but those would still have to be under the. Yes, ma'am. So we'll go back out and we'll try to get it back out to our local vendors, see if we can get some local bids, but it looks like the project will be close to $126,000, and so we're going to look for additional funding.
Okay, and if you do apply for additional funding from state agency on aging or
Yes, ma'am.
whatever. Any kind of a time frame that we have for that, or how long does that usually take?
That we're going, well, we're, we've heard that there's some funding from the state agency for capital projects. And so we have, she has contacted a couple of the local representatives to see if there is any additional funding that we can acquire for this. And then the city, of course, would be available to do some match if need be.
Okay.
And so we're just kind of waiting to see what kind of funding we can acquire and then see if the city would have to come in and match. But I think we would be able to, we should be able to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Gallegos, so now the bidders will know what the amount is that we want?
Well, the engineering estimate the engineering estimate was pretty low. And so we'll just have to go back out and go out to bid and see what we get.
Okay. So they know what to bid for then?
They will know what to bid on the project once the construction documents are out. Yes, sir.
Is that a good thing, or?
I don't know, but for lack of funding, there's just really we don't have a whole lot of options, Councilor.
Okay, so no other bids came in, just that one?
Just the one, yes, sir. And I believe this one was from Santa Fe. The RL Leader Company was out from Santa Fe. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, what's the pleasure for it? Want to accept?
Yes.
The third item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is resolution number 1845, budget adjustment resolution, and we have Ms. Andrea.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Good evening, how are you?
Finance Department would like to request a budget adjustment. Various departments are requesting increase in revenues and expenditures, an increase in the E911 program of $305,891. That's the current grant available. An increase of $174,602 in capital project funds in the housing department, $68,585 for the 2018 CFP grant, also housing, and an increase of $115,190 in low rent housing operating subsidy, for a total increase of revenues and expenditures of $560,763.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments?
I just a comment on the resolution. It says resolved in session this 21st day of November. First of all, it's just 21st with a TH instead of an ST, but the date is wrong because it's going to be the 20th.
I apologize.
So
I
we need to
apologize.
fix that.
Like that?
Yes.
I'm going to say 21st.
I apologize, Councilor.
You have to have a list to say that, yeah.
We'll get it corrected for
Okay,
next.
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Vega? good
Yes.
evening. On the budget line items, it says here we have equipment upgrades and firewall and router equipment and dispatch software. Have all these potential equipment and software been approved, and is this what we want?
They're pre-approved through the state,
Okay.
the state DOT. The state DOT approves the purchase of this equipment.
Okay, and this software, for example, is the best software that we can get, or is it just something that,
They pre-select the vendor, and DOT, the monies just flow through us, and then we share the monies with the state police
Okay.
for the operation of the 911.
I think that the question that needs to be asked is who made the determination of the actual need?
Of the actual need,
Of the need and how to condition the need for the.
I'd like to defer that to Pam. She could answer.
From what I know about this, the equipment is through the department, through TPS and through Motorola, and the contract runs through it. So that way, if there's any maintenance contract that comes with it, it's included in the amount of what we're asking for. So if something goes down with it, it's part of the contract, and it's facilitated through the 911 with the Motorola. Like, we currently have that in place with our dispatch equipment that we do have now currently, and if the monitor goes down, it's covered. If the headphones go down, they're covered. All we gotta do, if the system goes down itself, we have a 24-hour person that we can call, that they send down immediately to take care of our equipment. And it's done on a 24-hour rotation. So it's through the Department of DPS, and it covers all of the 911 for the state of Mexico.
Okay, so there's upgrades to the system?
Yes.
Okay, and what specifically are the upgrades?
The upgrades are only if they're done yearly through the yearly contracts. The contracts that come out, and usually their contracts just roll one on top of the other. There hasn't really been any real big upgrades. Like right now, we're dealing with the fact that we might have to move one of the repeaters because we got to move from the 6-street-old fire station. And that's going to be another cost to us, but it's not part of the contract. Usually the contracts that come in are standard and they just roll over year to year.
So it's a continuation of
Yes.
service?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I just, reason why I asked is hopefully these upgrades and equipment that we're going to be getting is not used or secondhand.
Oh, no, everything's brand new.
It's brand new.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Where's the second-hand question coming from? I'm a little concerned because you raised that question with the vest already, and now you raised it with the equipment. Let's be transparent and honest. Where's that coming from?
Well, what that's coming from is that I just don't want us to have equipment that's going to be faulty in 6 months or.
Well, I believe that in state statute, we have an obligation to ensure that any equipment that we purchase has to be renewed because it means the lives of our officers.
Mhm.
So, Councilor Casey,
Yeah, that's why-
but I'm very concerned about that.
I'm not, just to get everything straight in my own mind, I was talking to a state policeman at a restaurant recently, and we were talking about the 911 and the number of dispatchers that they have at the state police office here. They have 6 dispatchers at a time because we cover Raton and, all.
Northern New Mexico.
Yeah, pretty much all in northern New Mexico. So this money is strictly for the police department here?
Right, and we also share it for the training with state police.
Okay,
With state police training, they're able to use that money through us because we are the facilitator of the grant. So they're able to facilitate the money for training.
Okay.
The equipment-wise, no. The equipment stays with the Las Vegas Police Department because we are the facilitators for the actual 911 system.
Okay, so then the $10,000 training that's listed here would be
It's
shared
for state
with.
police and
for
city
everybody.
police for the training. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you, Councilor Casey. And for the record, I want to, Ms. Handel, for the record, I want to ask you, is this the equipment?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Okay. Councilor Howell, back. Okay. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is the review and certification of the fixed assets and inventories for the year 2018. Ms. Vega?
Per State Auditor Rule Section W, the capital asset inventory needs to be certified to the correctness of inventory after fiscal inventory. The certification shall be provided to the agency's auditors. Finance Department is requesting Mayor and Council's certification of the general fixed assets in addition, the business fixed assets and our inventories, our supply inventories.
And I also want to state for the record, we all sign off on this.
Yes.
So make sure you ask your questions now, because once the year's going through, ya se pasó, you know, so you've approved it. So just make sure we ask all our questions here, or in the next meeting. Councilor Casey first.
Thank you. I went through these and there's a lot of items that are really super old. And I think I asked this last year about having an auction. Did we ever have an auction, or are we going to have an auction?
We haven't had an auction in quite a number of years. 2 years prior, we were doing the public auction, putting our items on the public auction website and selling items through there, versus having Bentleys come in and perform.
Right.
uh,
Can we do that again to get rid of some of this stuff that's,
The public auction? Well, we had talked, if you recall,
yeah, we
about
got
having an open auction.
We talked about an open auction,
Yes, we
and we
did.
also talked about an online auction. What we need to do is gather all of the fixed assets that are no longer, that are obsolete, get them from each department, and then bring them to mayor and council, and then, of course,
Is that the pleasure of the board? Because I'd like to see an open auction.
I would too. I
That's-
think people would like to see that
Exactly.
myself, because they want to know. That way they don't think it's like this
Well,
big
it's a fair
secret deal, you know.
process, and that's exactly what I'm hearing out through the house. We had discussed this. Councilor
Just
Romero.
my input, just, I know, at West Las Vegas, when we did a public auction, we gave away some stuff versus when we had an online auction, a bus, when we sold it publicly, the bus sold for $200-300. When we sold it online, it sold for $4,000. So that's just something to, big difference.
Well, that's a good point.
This was a, used bus, I'm just seeing the
Well,
online.
maybe we can have the online first and then follow up with an open auction.
the open auctions are difficult, because with the online, they come in, they pay for their, whatever equipment and then they're responsible for taking it out of the yard. With an open auction, it's difficult to get a hold of vendors and get them to pick up things. So we can talk about it a little bit, and we'll talk to the department directors and see how best we can do it. But sure, what we'll do is first gather the list from the departments.
Okay. I have a couple more questions. How is depreciation calculated? Because some items are depreciated like half of their value, others are depreciated a third of their value. So,
Well, it depends on how many years they've been on the list.
And also the usage of the vehicle and the quality of the vehicle, so we
well, I'm
can
not talking
appreciate.
just about vehicles, I'm talking about, equipment in general. How is it depreciated?
Straight line.
So it's based on how
We use-
old it is?
Well, I use the straight line method of depreciation, and I refer to publication 976 of the IRS that gives me the years that an asset, the type of asset it is, and how many years it's expected to service. And then I put a fixed asset on for depreciation. And anything that was bought the first half of the month is depreciated for that month.
Okay.
Okay.
And
And you
then,
can get that depreciation fixed asset online with IRS.
there was also a listing of, for the housing, and some of the appliances were listed as location is housing, and for others, it says none. So what does none mean? If there's no location, where is it? And or is it in existence, or is it one of those
Well, when
things?
I put, I was able to put these on our accounting software program. I was working with an Excel spreadsheet which had been maintained since 1999. And so I'm working with whatever was on those lists, and then I input in here with whatever documentation information I had. So if the location is none, it's either floating around somewhere in one of the units, if it's still serviceable.
Because there were a lot of nuns, not in UNS, but in ONES.
I think a lot of the bigger equipment is bought in bulk. And so that we don't have an assigned housing number until it's issued out. A lot of times they purchase in bulk just for the simple reason of a lower price.
Yeah.
And so that's probably
And
another reason.
that is what makes up some of their inventory also. They when they purchased it, it's not,
assigned.
they'll have two maybe refrigerators stored so that, one breaks down, they have it immediately. Instead of waiting for a quote from a vendor and making the tenant wait.
Yeah. And so where are those bulk items stored?
They have a warehouse out at housing, or they're stored in there.
Okay. I think that's it for me.
Okay, Counselor Hall, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Ms. Vega,
Yes.
what is the lifetime or life expectancy of recreation workout equipment?
From 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years. Okay. So a lot of these, like the cycle and the stepper, they're practically almost over 5 years. Does that mean that we're going to get new ones, or are we auctioning these off, or explain that, because I'm not too clear on that.
It would be the same procedure. If they're not serviceable anymore, then it's time to, they would be put on for auction. And
So are we still using these equipment now, currently?
some may, I could refer to Sonia.
Sonia, could you come up, please?
And I myself don't participate. So I can't answer.
We thought you were pretty
Oh, go ahead.
I brought I brought George up because he knows, he's been there longer, he's the maintenance supervisor, so he could be able to answer those questions.
A lot of our equipment also, it's even if it's not, doesn't seem like it's wore out. Like the treadmills, for instance, a lot of them have computer programs in and stuff, and those are outdated. And some of them we can replace, and other ones get to a point where they're not replaceable anymore. They're trash, basically, what it comes down to. So it varies with everything we have on equipment like that. And then some of the stuff on the, anything movable and stuff like that, they don't make it anymore. It's not making, because they just want to move on, or the company goes out of business. And they just decide to get, we just keep upgrading.
So the
Counselor Hall, I'm sorry.
So the equipment that's being used currently in the rec center, are they safe and in good condition?
Yes, we keep them maintenance as much as we can between ourselves, and if we bring in an outside party to work on them, if we feel they're not safe, we'll pull them off the floor.
Okay.
One of the things that we need to do, Councilor, or Madam Mayor, members of the council, is we need to, once we finish upgrading the facility, and right now, and I don't know if any of you heard, but our boiler system is down, which has brought down the swimming pool. The swimming pool is into operation because we're trying to fix the boiler for the swimming pool. But one of the things that we need to do pretty quickly is put the equipment that they currently have on a rotation basis, and that way it's not as expensive. We spend X amount of dollars on equipment on an annual basis, and then we keep rotating it and keep updating it, but that hasn't been done for a long time. And so that's the next step that we do, is try to get our boilers up and running. And the boilers were not part of the upgrade. That upgrade cost us close to $5 million. The boilers were a considerable amount of money, and so we have been repairing them, is what we've been doing. But I was just talking to the staff. And we have some ideas as to how we're going to do it, and maybe we replace one of the boilers. I think there's two boilers. So maybe we replace one of the boilers this year, and then possibly take next year we replace the other one, and then replace some of the equipment as well.
Have you received any complaints about like the free weights and the steppers and?
It varies back and forth always. We try to remedy what we can and with what we have. We'll try to keep it in as good a shape as possible.
Did you say that we have an outside source coming in to maintain it? Equipment?
We've worked with a couple of people. Fitness Superstore right now is we work with currently. Come in and take care of any of our bigger stuff or any other computer stuff.
And they give us an analysis of how the equipment is, condition?
Yes. And there's the CES also.
All right. The laptops that are here, that are listed, they're more than almost 10 years old. Are we? Thank you for talking to me about that. What are we doing with all the laptops that we have? Yeah.
Kenny was just here, and he must have left.
Right now, they're stored. The problem with any computers, if we're going to put them up for auction, we do have to remove the hard drives and destroy them. So what would actually be auctioned off would just be the shell. The computer would.
Yeah, you can't have a product in here. So. There's a lot of schools are looking for laptops.
Right. However, we would have to sell them without a hard drive. The same goes with the desktop computer.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Yes, I got some questions. How about the all the listings that you have these on the inventory list? What percentage of stuff that you have here not working or it's too old, they're not up to date? Do you keep them in a certain area, or are you waiting for to have an auction and get rid of them? Or?
We're waiting to, they're stored at the various departments, like the computers and printers. Our IT department does hold on to them. Sometimes they utilize parts. If they can't get the equipment to function, they will take parts from that to repair another one, another printer or computer, if possible. If not, then it's put to one side and then just stored until the mayor and council make a decision to hold an auction.
And how about the equipment that the streets use and the transfer station?
Currently, anything that's unusable is being stored in the back. If it's large equipment, it would be stored in the back lot. The smaller equipment would be stored in a warehouse.
Because I'd seen that we do have equipment out there that hasn't been fixed for a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years. And what I see, if it's there for 3 or 4 years and it keeps on staying there, then we wouldn't do nothing with them. They keep on being rusty. They're not worth too much money for the city. I can't see that it takes so long to get rid of the stuff and bring that money back to see what we can get new equipment or whatever.
Right.
But there is equipment. Almost every, it's gas, it's water, it's streets, it's
But
transportation.
that would be equipment that it's been determined that it's not affordable to service them to try to get them back into use.
Like I'd seen that cheaper that's out there at the transfer station. The last time we talked about it is they're trying to fix it, trying to make sure that they were going to fix it so they could chip all the benches and elm trees or everything that they bring into the, it's still sitting there, you know, and the thing is that it's like being a businessman, you know, I don't, my equipment, I use it or I don't use it. You know. But if you keep on using this equipment and leave it there 3, 4, 5 years, you know, it's not doing the city any good.
It's kind of difficult. We're a government agency, so we have to follow the process, you know, get authorization from our mayor and council, and then depending on the value of the item, we do have to notify the state auditor's office, and we also have to let the Department of Finance and Administration know. Additionally, if any equipment, such as vehicles, were purchased with grant monies, we have to get an okay from that grantee, that, or grantor rather, that we are allowed to sell the item. So-
How long does it take to, if you have equipment or whatever, how long does it take to?
Once the process starts, it should take a couple of months. We just haven't started the process. But I know departments have been asking me, when are we going to be able to dispose of these items?
Because there's a lot of equipment out there. The city does
I
have
agree.
equipment. Some other, just by looking at what I see around, you could have maybe 5-10% of the equipment that's not working. I'm not sure how much.
And it's been determined that it's not serviceable any longer.
Yeah, that's
It is not affordable to
To fix
repair.
it, yeah, I understand
It would-
that. I understand, but just keep it there and just keep them up space and do that. I don't see anything for the city on that.
I agree.
You
Thank
will
you,
be
anyway.
coming back to the council, the mayor and council, regards to ordering disposal.
We'll see if we can schedule one in January or early February and start that process. And we'll start the process with the departments. And we'll get them to submit a listing. And then we'll start following through the process.
I think it would be a good idea if you could get an inventory of each department and see what equipment's not working, what's not, see what you have. Because if you have equipment that's not working, or from computers to everything that we handle, because if you just put them in the corner and get them there, they're going to stay there.
Right.
But,
We'll do that. We'll do that, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilor.
I guess my question is just adding to what Councilor Yul is asking isn't there a pending disposal list? Does the governing body here approve on an annual basis, or how often?
The listing will come from each department, and then we'll prepare the resolution along and attach the listing of the disposable items.
Is that what you guys call it here, the disposal list, or?
It's an obsolete listing of equipment. And so we'll bring that to mayor and council, and then you approve it, and then we send it off to DFA and state auditor for their approval. It's a little bit time.
I know on an annual
time
basis,
sensitive.
we would review that list. I don't know, you guys take inventory every year, right, every department?
Yes.
So at that time, if you have your inventory list and your disposal list, well, that pending disposal list, that list would basically have those items that Councilor Yul agreed, which, more or less, they've been sitting a while, then it would be on that pending disposal list. We're not doing that for.
We haven't done that. We haven't used that system. We usually, as I said, we usually request the listings from the departments. There may be a reason why it's sitting there for a length of time, and, like the chipper, I think Maria can maybe talk a little bit about the chipper.
Yeah, myself and the chipper, we're looking at making sure that it's cost effective to repair it, because smaller chipper than the amount of wood that we have to dispose of, so we're not sure if we want to put money towards a smaller chipper or a larger chipper. And that's where it's still it's still possible to be repaired. And I'm not really willing to get rid of it yet if I can make use of it. If I can't make use of it, then I would like to sell it, if I need a larger chipper. So it's not at a point here where we're ready to get rid of it, because it would cost more for me to replace it than possibly rehabilitate it, if that'll meet our needs. And I'm not convinced it's going to meet my needs yet.
So a draft disposal list or pending disposal list, how soon could we?
That'll take about a month to 6 weeks to get all of the departments to go through their information, and hopefully we can bring you a listing in January sometime and have you take a look at it. There may be some items that mayor and council would look at and say, well, is this something that can be repaired, or but it'll be a pretty lengthy list, I believe.
Assets are always tough, no matter what.
Yeah, it's got. Counselor Reese.
So in the case of machinery that doesn't work, like let's say a stair stepper that you have at the rec center, and the computer's broken, doesn't work, it's not functioning at all. Is there special, statutory guidelines or guidelines from anywhere to get rid of a piece of equipment that's basically junk? What do you do with that?
I think, it would sell a lot cheaper because it's probably not usable. And so, we have to look
Who
to
would want to
see.
buy that? That's what I'm saying. So if you have something that nobody wants. and
Maybe for
doesn't
metal, I
sell,
don't know. I
yeah.
mean, we would just have to try, I guess, Counselor,
Yeah.
to see.
So, and then if, let's say that you have something that just absolutely nobody wants, wants to take it as junk, they don't want to try to sell it for parts or anything like that. How do you get it off the inventory list?
We would, what we would need to do is then see if possibly one of the scrap metal companies would take it. And they do pay, I believe, for scrap metal. And then at that point, once it's sold, then we take it off of the inventory.
Exactly.
But,
And so there's a few steps that we
yeah,
have to follow.
but if there's, I guess, there's so much in this inventory thing that
There is.
like dead or has been dead for a long time.
You're right.
How do you bury it so you can get it off of the inventory list? Because some things are not going to ever sell for anything. And so,
Exactly. You're right.
I don't know if you had to report it to DFA and say, these things were never bought, nobody wants them, they don't work. They're they're unsaleable, Can we remove them from inventory? Do you do that?
It's, what we do is if it's under, there's a threshold, I believe it's $5,000.
Well, the state uses the $5,000 threshold, we use $1,000.
So it has to be under 1,000.
In order for us to be able to.
Okay, I suppose, yeah, that was kind of I was driving in a real roundabout way, but.
And what we may do is want to distribute these lists over to the departments. I know that Tana does send them over, but we may want to distribute them once again, have the department directors review them and see what they have and what they don't have, and then we'll move forward with the obsolete listing.
Now, currently, I won't put anything on the inventory list unless it's $1,000 or over. And anything under $1,000, quite a few of our computers have been purchased, they're under 1,000. But IT does keep an inventory listing of those, and I don't treat them for depreciation or put them on a fixed asset listing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Counselor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Vega, water treatment plant is from 1985. Maybe, I don't know if Ms. Gilberto can talk on this, but the condition of the water treatment plant, because I see a lot of the net asset value is zeros, except for the ones right below that.
It's been depreciated out. The original water treatment plant has been depreciated out.
Right, that's zero value.
It's
right.
got a zero value.
So what is the condition of the water
The
treatment?
condition is good. They have been doing upgrades.
Okay.
They just recently installed a